Welcome to Shore Perspectives, a community feature of WESR Radio, highlighting the spirit of the shore from those who call it home.
My name is Bev Misuna. I was just telling somebody the other day at the hospital gift shop, Nancy Richardson, who was my school nurse back when I was in the 10th grade. We had a career day, and she did a lot of talking about why she was a nurse. And the more I listened, the more I kept thinking about it. We only had like a year and a half to go before we had to make a decision about what we wanted to do after high school. So I waited until after she was done, and then I spent a few minutes talking to her again. And she's like, it was the one thing she always did that she knew she could always do her best and people would appreciate it. And she loved it and she never regretted it. And I said, well, how do you do that? And she told me. So I thought about it for a little while, and I didn't really think it was going to happen. When I graduated high school, I had no direction, didn't know what I wanted to do. All my friends went to college. I was waitressing at a local restaurant. And after about 6 months of that, I said, I have got to do something else with my life. So I answered an ad at the LPN school. They were actually running an ad. They needed students. And I applied and I got in, and that was in 1983, and the rest is history for me. It was located right behind the campus of the old hospital, right there on Rogers Drive, the Bessie B. Anderson. And hanging in the doorway, there was a picture of Florence Nightingale. And every day I'd go in and I'd say, yo, Flo, how's it going? Well, one day they pulled me in the office and they told me that I was being disrespectful to the founder of our profession. And my reply was, no, I'm the only one who speaks to her when I come in the door. I have that picture today. She is in my living room. So when the school closed and they were dismantling things, that was the only thing I asked for, and I have her. So every day I get to say yo, Flo, when I'm going out the door. It was a one-year program, so I graduated in '84, took a job for a little while out in Fredericksburg, worked out there for about a year, and was so homesick. I came home, I applied at the hospital, and Francis Underhill gave me my first job here on the shore. And it was on the medical surgical floor. Everybody had to start there because that's where you sort of cut your teeth, so to speak. And we did that, and I mean, it was a hustling, bustling. We had 5 floors at the hospital. Every one of them was always busy. You learned a lot, but it was faster than you thought it was going to be. For a little hospital back in the 80s, I can tell you every floor was busy. Every surgeon was working. Every doctor had patients in the hospital. It was a great time to learn. It was a glorious time in medicine here on the shore. We had a full staff. It was great. It was just such a learning experience. Back in the old days, every 3 months you changed floors. They wanted you to have a rounded, well-seasoned place around the hospital. So every 3 months we would have to change. So if you were on 3rd floor, the next 3 months you might find yourself on 4th floor, might find yourself in the ER or ICU. I kept going down to ICU. There was a nurse down there, her name was Betty Scott, and Betty Scott kept saying, you need to come down here and work with us. So I did, and I ended up spending the next 8 years in there. And that was a real learning experience. I mean, critical care, you would get the sickest of the sick. You'd have to act quickly, you'd have to make decisions, and it was always fast-paced, and I loved it. It was always and always will be my first love. No matter where I went in the hospital after that, I always came back to the ICU. And I credit them with making me realize that it wasn't just a career, it wasn't just something to do for a living. These were real people, really sick, and to see them get better, or sometimes not, really did bring it home that what you were doing mattered. It really makes a difference to me when I see how people treat other people. Nurses have an insane sense of when something's not right. they know what to do. And sometimes we don't always give them the answer that they want to hear, or we give them the perception that we're bubbly and over, just overly sappy and loving. It's not about that. It's about having the knowledge to recognize when there's a change, when there's something serious going on. And sometimes that does take somebody with a backbone. And you have to stand up to things. You have to stand up to families, to physicians, to situations. And we are there in the front line a lot longer than your doctor is, and a lot longer than your family is. We take the fire. We take the heat. But at the end, we're the one who mops your brow, gives you something for pain, fluffs your pillow, and tries to make you feel better. Nurses are they're my heroes. Nurses, I don't know how many I've seen in my lifetime. I don't know how many I will see in the future, but every one. When you see that face come and they're young and they're like a sponge and they want to learn everything, that's my favorite nurse. The seasoned nurse, there's no comparison. She knows what to do and when to do it. But that brand new young face that comes in and wants to be like you or learn from you, or take the best of what she sees or he sees from every nurse they meet and rolls it up into their own practice, that's the evolution that means so much to me. I had so many mentors. Just one to speak of, her name was Agnes Wilkins. Agnes was a very tall and regal, soft-spoken African-American woman. But she taught me how to give medicines, and she taught me how to do treatments on the medical surgical floor. And she was always so dignified. And the thing that impressed me the most was when Ms. Wilkins spoke, the physicians listened. And that was very impactful to me because, the doctors were it. But when Ms. Wilkins spoke, they took the time and they listened. And I said, I really want to be like her. So I carry her with me. Every year at the Festival of Light, she gets a light on the tree from me, and she will always be there. But she's long gone, but she made such an impact on me. And there were so many more. Too many to name, but Agnes Wilkins was probably my biggest influencer and mentor. I retired in 2021. After COVID, I just didn't bounce back like I should have, and it was very, very sad for me. I wasn't ready to go, but I knew I couldn't do it anymore. And it was a hard decision, but once I did it, I was like, well, I think I could get used to this. Then I decided to do a couple of things like volunteer at the hospital. I work in the gift shop a couple times a month, and I'm on the Ladies Auxiliary. We do a lot in that organization, and I'm in the Seroptimus Club of Accomack County. I have things that I'm doing. Literacy Council, I'm on their board, so I'm busy. Does it take the place of nursing? Not all the time, but there is that feeling of nurturing something, and that makes me feel good. And then I pester my husband, which has always been a pleasure. The auxiliary is a group that comes together. We meet 3 times a year, but there are so many things going on in the background. We have fundraisers, and all of those funds are used to buy medical equipment that the hospital needs, or we fund educational opportunities, and it's not just for nurses. We do it for all the staff. Anybody who wants to go back and get some sort of advanced education in whatever their career choice is, we will help them do that. There's an application process and a screening process, but I can tell you that we hardly turn anybody down, and we have been able to re-educate or bump up the education of many nurses and many technicians and people in the hospital, and that's important. And we fund equipment, anything that they can't really put the money out for, we'll give it to them ahead of time, and then they can purchase things and use it for patient care. I mean, anything to advance the care that we give at our hospital, the Ladies Auxiliary stands behind it.
One of the fundraisers coming up is the hospital ball.
It's our biggest, and it's probably our most popular. And it's always been such fun. I mean, if you haven't been, you really need to go. It's expensive for some people. I understand that. But at the same time, what a wonderful opportunity to give back to your community and have a good time while you're doing it. The Island House does the food. The ladies do such a phenomenal job decorating. Of course, they never let out what the theme is, and I'm waiting patiently because this year the theme is something that, you know, I might like because I am the honorary chair, and that was a huge surprise. But at the same time, it's not about me. I want to use this opportunity to honor every nurse that's ever provided care to any patient on the Eastern Shore, no matter who they worked for. I have to go back to my grandmother. Her name was Marie Pearl. And Marie Pearl always used to tell me, always do your best. She said, if you do your best, you know in your heart you've done enough. And that sticks with me, and I try to apply that in everything I've ever done, and I try to instill that with anybody I ever mentored or had to teach or somebody under my wing. Always do your best, because if you do, you know at the end of the day you've done enough.
For Shore Perspectives and WESR Radio, I'm Kelly Gaskell.